Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, usually joined by Chris Emerson, but I'm doing it solo tonight. Just a little post-game pod to talk about the Wolves' 105-90 win over the Brooklyn Nets. And I should mention, as we're recording this, Tyler Hero just hit a floater, and it is tied 108-108 in Miami between Memphis and the Heat. Of course, the Wolves and Memphis have identical records. So as we go forward here, I will update you on that. But we're here to talk Wolves basketball tonight. And what we got to start with is I hope Jordi Fernandez learned his lesson, because that's a good way to not get in the good graces of the NBA as a first-year coach, is to injure one of the faces of the league. That's probably not a good look, particularly for a first-year coach. Like, Greg Popovich could probably get away from it with it, but Jordi Fernandez isn't someone who can get away with injuring Anthony Edwards. And I hate that we have to talk about this. Now, I had some not so ideal language for Jordi Fernandez. If you check out our Twitter accounts tonight, I think that was just spur of the moment. But what is he doing? Why is he even walking back when there's a player right there ready to shoot a three? Like, why are you putting yourself in that situation? Like, Jordi Fernandez, this isn't his first rodeo. He's been a coach since like 2013 in the NBA, not necessarily a full-time like head coach, because obviously this is his first go of it. But I mean, he's coached in FIBA. He's been around the NBA since 2009. He's got to know that when a player is shooting a three-pointer, don't walk back. Like, what are you doing? And I hope that Jordi Fernandez learns from this, because he has to. And I'm sure I haven't seen the post-game presser with Jordi Fernandez, because I tend not to watch Jordi Fernandez's post-game presser. I hope that he learns from this. And I know that he must feel the worst in the building. And unfortunate news, Wolves fans, Ja Morant just hit a like a step back shot from the free throw line to give Memphis the 110-108 win. So at least at this point, no ground gained, but still a win tonight for the Timberwolves. So Jordi Fernandez, be better. Please be better. I hope you learn from this. I'm sure he feels the worst in the room. And thank God Ant is an Iron Man, right? There are so many times where I've watched Anthony Edwards go down, twist his ankle, and think, oh, shoot, we're done. We're done. Put this season in the deep freeze because it's over. And then he just comes back. And not only that, and knock on wood, hopefully this keeps continuing. Not only does Anthony Edwards come back, he comes back like at halftime. He doesn't even like miss a game. It's astounding how well built Anthony Edwards is. And man, I got worried when Anthony Edwards stepped on Jordi Fernandez's foot, but thankfully he came back, started the second half, and really had one of the best games of the season for Anthony Edwards. 28 points, 10 for 15 from the field. You'll see a lot of high-scoring Anthony Edwards games, but it'll be like 28 points on like 25 shots. But tonight's very efficient. Like I said, 10 for 15 from the field, hitting the three-point shot. That really helped put the game away down the stretch. 5 for 10 from three, 3 for 5 from the three-point line, a plus 17. And he was doing a little bit of everything. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and just a great game for Anthony Edwards, considering he missed a lot of the second quarter. I mean, that's a huge performance from Anthony Edwards, because there were some guys who weren't producing tonight for the T-Wolves, particularly might have been even early on in the season where Dante DiVincenzo wasn't hitting shots and he was shooting somewhere around 30% from the field and from behind the three-point line. DiVincenzo had a rough night. 21 minutes, 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. 2 points. He was a +3, but basically everyone on the floor was a plus tonight, except Jalen Clark, who had a rough 5 minutes. Had three turnovers for Dante DiVincenzo tonight. I remember one early on in the first half where DiVincenzo, he does this a lot. He jumps, and sometimes he'll make a great pass, and sometimes he'll not know what to do with the ball in his hands while jumping. And he had a turnover tonight, 3 of them tonight for Dante DiVincenzo. I am going to rack that up just to rust a little bit. It's tough coming back from a suspension, like they were mentioning on the broadcast, Jim Pete and Michael Grady. It's tough when you're in a rhythm to get back into the rhythm, and hopefully this was his out of rhythm game for the Wolves. But you got to see more out of Dante DiVincenzo. And I was getting worried on this game. Thankfully, it's easy to be said. The Nets are really bad. Like, the Nets are a bad team, particularly the Nets team we saw tonight with no Cameron Johnson, tons of other guys out. Like, for example, at the end of the game, usually when you put in your guys for garbage time, they just kept the same guys in because their garbage time players were basically in 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they were actually making a run. They got it within 6, and then the Wolves absolutely took over from there. But I was getting worried in this game because in the first quarter, the Brooklyn Nets could not make a shot. I think they went a good 5 minutes without scoring a single point, but the Wolves couldn't build the lead past, I think it was only 9. And then the Nets came storming back and actually took the lead in the second quarter. That's what worries me a little bit, is when you have a team on the ropes, you have an opportunity to put this game away quick, maybe rest your starters, even in the third quarter. They didn't take advantage of the opportunity and let Brooklyn just hang around, and eventually the Wolves put it away in the fourth quarter, but it really took till the fourth quarter. I mean, some of these stats for the Brooklyn Nets are tough. 30% from 3, 75. They only shot 4 free throws tonight, where they did have more paint point than the Wolves. They weren't getting fouled on them, so they weren't going to the free throw line. 42% from the field. And the first half, the Wolves defense was fantastic. They only allowed 19 points in the first and 18 points in the second for a total of 37. The problem was they only had 49 themselves. And against a bad defense like Brooklyn, you'd like to be much better than that. But if we want to talk about who was bad tonight, I saw tons of people on Twitter, and this is just the Wolves pessimism, is tons of people on Twitter saying, oh, D'Lo, he's gonna have one of those nights against us. He's gonna light us up. I think D'Lo didn't score a single point tonight. 0 points. He was a +1, but 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from the 3-point line. 13 minutes on the night, and that's when I knew that the Brooklyn Nets were giving us this game, because I'm not saying that D'Lo would have beat us or anything. I'm not saying that, but if you want a guy that could come in and get hot, like we've seen before, a very streaky shooter, you would put in a guy like D'Lo to try to maybe steal a game. But they didn't. He only played 13 points on the night. Really, the only guy of note for the Brooklyn Nets was Nick Claxton, who I feel like he's had tons of good game against us, which, granted, he's a good player. So there's that. Like we were talking about on our last podcast, if you're listening to it, you can check it out on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube as well. Actually, not YouTube on that one, but on our last on YouTube. Yes, on YouTube. You can check out our last podcast on YouTube as well. We were mentioning Wolves killers, and really, a Wolves killer can't be like the best guy on a team. Like, it can't be like a Kevin Durant, right? It's got to be like a role player who kills us, a guy that you don't see it coming, like a Eric Gordon or the likes of that. But Nick Claxton, I feel like, has had some good games against the Wolves, and he had another one tonight, just really efficient, 18 points, 9 for 10 from the field, 6 rebounds. So he had a good game, but I'm sure the Nets are thankful for that, because No one else had over 11 for the Nets. And you want to talk about rebounds? Oh boy. Now, I know he only finished with 18, which is still a lot, but we saw him have 20 nights a couple nights ago, 20 rebounds a couple nights ago. Rudy Gobert was special in this game. He really was. 9 for 10 from the field, so he matched Nick Claxton on that. 21 points, 18 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds, and he was just a monster. And he looked more confident going to the basket. There were a couple times where he got it towards the top of the free throw line, took a couple dribbles, went right by a guy and scored. He didn't panic tonight. He didn't just throw up something and make it look awful, because there's sometimes where Rudy Gobert, I think, just panics and doesn't know what to do. I think this was one, and it wasn't fluid. It's not one that you'd show to an aspiring big man. But I think this was one of Rudy's best scoring post games that I have seen in the Timberwolves uniform. Maybe he had better ones with Utah, but I think just straight up like scoring, I think this was one of his best games of his career, and a couple blocks as well for Rudy Gobert. He was the total package tonight, and he has just been playing awesome for this team. And I know sometimes Rudy Gobert's impact doesn't feel felt, particularly on the offensive end. And I know there's times in the past where it feels like the Wolves are trying to force Rudy Gobert the ball because it feels like they have to. No, man, tonight it was just flowing. It was all natural. It was either Rudy getting an offensive or defensive rebound, or it was just getting him the ball in positions where he can score. Nikhil had a nice pass to him, had a couple alley-oops as well. But, man, Rudy in this offense was fantastic tonight. Mike Conley, tough game for him, 2 for 10, 2 for 7 from the field, did have 6 assists. Randall, a little bit of a tough night as well, at least scoring-wise, 4 for 11, 3 for 8. Did have 4 turnovers, but 8 rebounds and made some night passes. Man, he's a good distributor. He's starting to fit into this offense. I was listening to No Dunks podcast about the NBA, which you should check out today, and they were saying basically Julius Randle, he was a bad fit at the beginning, but now he's finding his fit. It's a great fit with the Wolves right now, and you're starting to really see it. He's making faster decisions. He's distributing the ball much better. I feel like he's holding on to the ball less and less and making much quicker decisions, which is great to see. Jaden McDaniels had some moments, had a nice steal, which turned into a nice layup. 3 for 6 from the field. Not really Jaden. I don't think you'd put this game on Jaden's highlight reel, but a decent game nonetheless. Naz Reid back in Brooklyn. I know he's from New Jersey, but close, very close to Brooklyn. Nice game for him. 26 points, 5 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 13 points. Just a stereotypical Naz Reid, 6th man of the year type of game for Naz Reid. And really, if you're looking on the Brooklyn side, I said earlier that no other player had more than 11 points. I was wrong on that other than Nick Claxton. Dariq Whitehead had 17, and then Tosan, I'm not even going to try to say the last name, had 13 off the bench for the Nets. And they're going to struggle towards the end, and they need to. I was looking on Twitter. I saw a bunch of tweets from Brooklyn fans because I like to look at what the other team is saying. They have no intention of winning. There's no reason for them to win. And I know the NBA hates tanking, whatever, but there is no reason for that team to not to win right now. And I know they beat the Mavericks a couple days ago, but still, Brooklyn, that's no reason for them to win. They showed their cards very early in the fourth quarter. They didn't put in a lot of their top guys. Like I mentioned, if they're trying to win, they throw in D'Lo and say, hey, go shoot every time and maybe you get hot. They throw in D'Lo, a former All-Star, with the Nets if they're trying to win that game. And by the way, another important game coming up here on TNT. Kevin Harlan on the call. Lakers and Warriors coming up. I don't know if we can catch the Warriors. I don't know. I've said this for weeks. I don't know if we can necessarily catch the Warriors. I just think they're playing too well. And like, for example, with how well we've been playing, we went 11-3 in March, and then we just won again tonight. We're still neck and neck with all these teams. They're still right there. The Clippers are right there. Memphis is right there, which I know Memphis has fallen. But, I mean, we just can't get any separation, and it's really not our fault. Now, you could say it's partly our fault because of games like the Indiana game or the Pelicans game, but you're going to lose some games, right? Like, you're not going to go 82-0. And, yes, they should have beat the Pelicans. Zion got them on that one. And then, of course, the crazy Pacers game where Pat Connaughton got him. But still, I mean, 11-3 in a month, you will take it every single time. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Luka and LeBron. You'll take 11-3 in a month, and the Wolves get the win tonight. Let's take a look at some of the team stats here. Field goal percentage, the Wolves caught fire in the second half, 50% from the field, only 31% from threes. They did a good job getting the free throw line. Still not a great free throw shooting team, only 66% tonight. Where they really won this game was not allowing second chance opportunities. They had 45 rebounds. Most of those were Rudy Gobert. And the one demerit for the Wolves tonight is turnovers. They had a bunch in the first half. That's how they allowed the Brooklyn Nets to hang around. They had 18 turnovers and gave up 20 points off of turnovers. You clean that up a little bit, this is a 20, 25-point game. And the other factor, when the Nets are bricking every shot in the first quarter, put it away. Put it away early. And I know the Wolves historically, it's not just this team. It's not just this team. It's the Wolves all the way back to Tom Gugliotta. The Wolves historically in games they're supposed to win have trouble putting away teams early and resting their guys in the fourth and third quarter. But a win's a win, and you will take it. Looking forward, the Wolves taking on the 76ers. They announced today Tyrese Maxey is done for the season. Of course, Joel Embiid done as well for the season. Paul George done for the season. So there goes that big three. So a lot of Yabusele, a lot of Quentin Grimes, and hopefully the Wolves can take care of business. So my takeaways from tonight, got to limit the turnovers. Because if you turn the ball over against a Brooklyn Nets team that's not trying to win, then what's it going to look like in the playoffs? Now, I know that the Wolves get up for big games. You saw that in the playoffs last year. You saw that against the Denver games this year, playing Durant against the Suns. You see the Wolves get up for big games. And maybe this is just a letdown. When you play scrappy, particularly young teams like the Brooklyn Nets, maybe you're going to turn over the ball more because they're just more aggressive. Like basically everyone on that Nets team, except for like D'Lo, is trying to earn a spot on the team next year. Now, I don't know what the Nets are going to look like. There's Giannis rumors for the Nets. Who knows? That I feel like the Nets are always trying to make a big splash and trying to bring someone in. But we'll see. But basically, like Drew Timme, he's trying to earn a spot next year. And not only auditioning for his team, auditioning for around the league as well. So maybe more turnovers against a scrappy team, but I just think a lot of them were forced turnovers, and we got to clean that up going forward. 2, my other takeaway, Jordi Fernandez, learn from this. Please learn from this. Don't do that again. He should almost be fined, and that might be a controversial take. But for even putting yourself in that position where a player could step on your foot, your first priority is player safety. Like your first check mark on your checklist is make sure everyone's safe. Now, obviously, okay, maybe the actual first checklist is win the game, coach the team to a win. But when you're in a position of power like that, you need to make sure everyone is okay. You cannot put yourself in a position where you potentially hurt anyone, and particularly one of the faces of the NBA. You can't be yourself in that position. I'm going to listen to his post-game presser to see what he said. I'm sure he'll be apologetic. I'm sure he didn't mean to be in that position, and I'm sure he'll never do it again, and I'm sure he'll be extra careful. I'm not calling Jordi Fernandez a Draymond Green of coaching. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm not calling him a Grayson Allen like back when he was a Duke. He just made a mistake, but it was almost a huge mistake for the Timberwolves. My third takeaway here is Rudy is still a huge part of this team, and you saw it tonight. And it's not going to show every night, but what you are going to see out of Rudy every night is hustle. You're going to see hard play, and Rudy's never going to take a game off. Like, Rudy did not take that game off where he could have against a Thursday night in Brooklyn against a bad Brooklyn team. He decided not to take it off, and he had a heck of a matchup. And then Anthony Edwards is an Iron Man. Like, to get back up time and time again and to keep going, that's impressive. That is really impressive to see. And it's just a credit to how he was made, you know? He's just made different. He's had some injury, but not a real significant injury that has kept him out too much time in his NBA career. Knock on wood, hoping that continues. But thank God he was okay. Well, this is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. Wolves win 109-105. Have a great night, and as always, go Wolves.